Imagine a room with only one door. You see a man walk in. You watch the door for hours. He never walks out. When you go inside to check, the room is empty. This sounds like a magic trick or a ghost story. But in 2006, this actually happened in Columbus, Ohio. And nearly 2 decades later, the FBI, private investigators, and internet sleuths are still trying to figure out how a human being simply deleted himself from reality. This is the story of Brian Shaffer, a man who was captured on camera entering a bar but was never captured leaving. He didn't vanish from a dark alley or a lonely road. He vanished from inside a crowded building, surrounded by friends, security guards, and surveillance cameras. Today we are going to walk through the timeline, the evidence, and the impossible geography of the Ugly Tuna Saloona. But to understand the mystery, we first have to understand the man. Brian Shaffer was 27 years old. He wasn't a drifter. He was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. He was handsome, successful, and he had a plan. He was days away from a trip to Miami, where he planned to propose to his girlfriend, Alexis. By all accounts, he had everything to live for. However, beneath the surface, there was a crack in the foundation. Just 3 weeks before his disappearance, Brian's mother, Renee, passed away from a rare form of cancer. Friends said Brian was handling it well, but grief is a heavy burden. On the night of March 31st, Brian decided to go out with his best friend, Clint, to blow off some steam. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. It turned out to be a farewell. It is Friday night, March 31st, the beginning of spring break. Brian and Clint start their night with a steak dinner, moving on to shots of liquor at multiple bars. Around 1:15 a.m., they arrive at the South Campus Gateway complex. Now look at this location carefully. This isn't a dive bar in the middle of nowhere. It is a modern, developed complex. Their destination, the Ugly Tuna Saloona, is located on the 2nd floor. This detail is the key to the entire mystery. Because the bar is elevated, there is only one public entrance. To get in, you have to ride an escalator up from the street level, and to get out, you have to ride that same escalator back down. At the top of that escalator, mounted clearly on the wall, is a security camera. This camera covers the entire width of the entrance. There is no blind spot. If you walk in, you are recorded. If you walk out, you are recorded. At 1:15 a.m., the camera clearly captures Brian and his friends going up. They enter the bar. They order drinks. The night is normal. At 1:55 a.m., the camera captures Brian again. He is standing just outside the bar doors at the top of the escalator, talking to 2 women. He looks casual. He looks normal. After a brief conversation, he turns and walks back into the bar, presumably to talk to the band or find his friends. This moment, Brian turning his back and walking into the darkness of the bar, is the last time he is ever seen alive. 5 minutes later, at 2 a.m., the bar closes. The lights come on. Security sweeps the room. They check the bathrooms. They check the booths. Everyone leaves. Clint waits outside, calling Brian's phone. No answer. He assumes Brian just went home early. But Brian didn't go home. When Brian didn't show up for his flight to Miami the next Monday, the police were called. The first thing they did was seize the security footage. They expected to see him stumbling out at 2:05 a.m., maybe missing the camera by a split second. So they watched the tape. They watched every single frame from 1:55 a.m. until the bar was empty. They counted every person leaving. Brian was not one of them. This is where the case breaks your brain. If he didn't go down the escalator, how did he leave? Investigators looked at the service exit. But the service door wasn't an easy escape. It led into a construction zone that was essentially a hazardous drop-off. Officers said it would be nearly impossible to navigate while sober, let alone intoxicated. And even if he did, search dogs swept that entire construction site. They found no scent. The theories began to spiral. Did he dress up as a band member and carry equipment out, hiding his face? The band denied it. Did he hide in a false ceiling? The building was inspected with thermal cameras. Nothing. Did he purposefully disappear? Remember, his mother had just died. Some believe Brian used the chaos of the bar to slip away, walk out through the kitchen, and start a new life. But his bank account was never touched. His phone was never used. The tragedy of this case is not just about the man who vanished, but the man left behind. Brian's father, Randy Shaffer, dedicated his entire life to finding his son. He consulted psychics. He hired private eyes. He spent his savings keeping the billboard up. He refused to believe Brian was dead. But in a cruel twist of fate, 2 years later, a heavy windstorm knocked a tree onto Randy's driveway. He was outside clearing the debris when a branch fell and killed him instantly. He died without ever knowing what happened to his son. Now the only person left is Brian's younger brother, Derek, who is the last surviving member of the family. Years have passed. The Ugly Tuna Saloona eventually closed down and was remodeled. The walls that held the secret are gone. The FBI released an age progression photo of what Brian might look like today. If he is alive, he is out there, perhaps with a new name, a new history. This case remains one of the most frustrating mysteries in modern detective work. It is a locked room mystery in real life. Case complexity, 5 out of 5. Psychological depth, 5 out of 5. The question remains, did Brian Shaffer walk away from his life? Or is he still somehow in that building? I'll let you decide. If you have a theory, leave it in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the cases that keep us awake at night.